Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jim Cornette Experience. Winter is coming. The snow is falling, and so are Tony the Snowman's ratings. We're going to give this week's Dynamite a frosty reception and then talk some classic wrestling and other falderall to warm us up. And joining me, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. He makes a great snowman, but he puts the carrot in the wrong place. Be great, Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. Random conversation. I don't know where we're going once again, but I'm looking forward to getting there at some point.
Well, no, last week was the random conversation, and this is there's going to be a high level of jacking off here on this program today. Just so everybody, well, of a verbal nature, Metaphorically speaking,
a high level
of it, because it's getting close to the Christmas break, and and boy, wrestling just ain't that interesting these days. And hopefully we are. And sometimes when we're just halfway don't give a shit, it turns out to be the better program. So we have commitments. People need to listen to us, so we must do this, no matter whether or not there's anything worth fucking talking about or not. I'm not happy with the weather again. Is this a surprise to you, Brian?
No, it's a trend, but it's that time of year, so the trend will continue, I think.
Well, but no, it's not that. It's not this time of year. We're way past this time of year. We're already having February's weather, second week of December. I've mentioned to the folks past couple weeks, we got like 5 inches of snow, and it didn't melt for a week, and it melted off finally on a Sunday afternoon, and Monday it snowed another 2 or 3 inches. And then finally it warmed up and rained and washed all that away. And guess what it did last night, Brian? It snowed again. As they said, 4.6 inches at the airport. I think it may have been a little bit more over here. But nevertheless, it's warming up today. This was overnight. We awoke to the winter wonderland. It's warming up. Things are already melting. It's dropping off the trees. The driveway's already visible. This would never happen in a normal snowfall. It'd go away this quickly. But we're going to take care of that, because tomorrow it's going to snow another 1 to 3 inches. That's on Saturday. And guess what comes up on Sunday? On Sunday, it's going to be the coldest December 14th in the history of December 14th. This is in Louisville, Kentucky. The coldest day on that date ever recorded. The high is projected to be 10 in the latest forecast, and that's at the airport where it's a couple degrees warmer, and that's the high. And the wind chill will be in the negative teens throughout the morning and whatever the fuck. The average temperature here in Louisville, Kentucky on these dates is about 48 degrees. And we average 12 inches of snow per winter, and we have already had about 9 or 10 and fixing to fucking have another couple. This bodes ill, Brian, for the rest of the year. What about you in the godforsaken tundra and frozen plains of Jersey? I remember it was very bitterly horrendous there.
Yeah, no, it's freezing. It's really cold, especially in the morning. There's been some ice. They had their first snow day, the kids, this year. So, and that was the day where it didn't even snow, which is crazy. I guess they just thought about it and were like, let's just give it a shot in case it does snow. But
we're just sick. We're just sick of these children.
But
what's it supposed to be up there right now? How cold is it? What's your normal temperature? Your normal average temperature?
I don't know. I don't know the average.
Teterboro.
Well, I'm not in Teterboro. I fly to Morristown. No, I don't know the average.
You don't know your own average.
I know my personal average, 98.6. I don't know the outside average. I'm sorry to break it to you.
All right, good enough. And here's another thing that I'm just completely astonished about. And how can people exist in life and do these things? I told you, well, it's probably been a year or two ago now. Remember when I stumbled on the YouTube thing where the young musician or like, no, what was it? No, it was the classical musician. Here's rock and roll songs for the first time channel.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which led me to some other channel where some young person who was a musician was listening to the old stuff or whatever, and they're amazed, they're gobsmacked, they're open-mouthed and slack-jawed in astonishment at hearing goddamn legendary songs that how can you exist in life without hearing. And I found another one accidentally on the YouTube thing when I was watching a wrestling clip first thing this morning of the vintage variety. Now it's just regular people. And this is an industry, apparently, Brian, where people put a camera on themselves and then listen to or watch, allegedly for the first time ever, something that's almost goddamn impossible for you not to have seen or heard of. And this guy's 30 years old, and he's got this young lady with him that probably is in her early 20s or whatever. But they're listening to selections off Dark Side of the Moon. They were astonished to hear Money. And it was a revelation to them that Ted Nugent had performed Stranglehold. Besides, how aren't these things in goddamn movies that kids would see? How the fuck do you live to be a 30-year-old man and not hear anything from Dark Side of the Moon?
There are plenty of kids who have never heard a single note from Pink Floyd. Where are you going to hear it? You know, lots of kids have. Lots of kids seek it out. Lots of kids hear it because their parents or grandparents listen to it. But, you know, it's not crazy to think that, but it is an industry, a little cottage industry. For the first time ever, I'll be exposed to this. There's certain people that...
Well, and that was going to be the second part of my question. I'm sorry to cut you off, but then you can answer what you're already going to say anyway. Is why the fuck do we care what your goddamn thoughts are unless you are some expert in the field of endeavor that you are critiquing? Go ahead.
I think different cases for different... I think sometimes it's a cute girl. You're like, oh, let's see this cute girl who's clearly never heard the Velvet Underground. Let's see what she thinks of this. But other times... Again, I don't know. I mean, they want to sit there, and sometimes you don't believe that they've never been exposed to the song. Because sometimes it's ridiculous. I'm saying.
It's hard to believe. There was even 80s stuff and fucking, you know, more recent type of things that they were reacting or possibly reacting to. But it's like, oh, listen to the lyrics there. What the fuck?
No, there's this one woman I've seen on YouTube. She does good stuff. It's called, like, I think The Charismatic Voice. And, like, she's actually like a vocal coach or something. Like, you know, she knows her shit. She's not just some fan. And it started with her, like, reviewing things that she legitimately hadn't heard and really, you know, breaking down the vocals. And now, like, it's like she's listening to Devo. You know, she's being exposed to shit she's never heard. So whenever I see one of those videos pop, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Now she's on this.
Now she said, oh, I think Mark Mothersbaugh should have hit a C- there.
Yeah, eventually she gets to that.
Is that a note, by the way, a C-?
It is now. That's one of those notes you hit when you sing. Like
there
Mussolini.
You go. See, that's the key I sing in. Is C-. But again, if it's, I understood the classical musician, and here's this staid woman that, you know, looks like she's got tumbleweeds in her vag, and she's listening to some goddamn, you know, Black Oak, Arkansas, but the amazing instrumental. That is entertaining, but now it's just people sitting around allegedly listening to other people's shit. And why do I care what you think? I was into the music that they were listening to, but when they would stop it to comment, I would fast forward ahead to the rest of the song, right?
And otherwise, you're just watching them kind of groove out to the song that they're saying they've never heard before. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's people watching this shit's what I'm saying to you.
No, my YouTube algorithm got like all filled with this for a while after I finished with the chiropractor videos. It was this, I think, was next on my list. And there was this couple, and they used to do the videos, and they'd play the song. And again, you somewhat believe they've never heard any good music before. And they sit there, and they would groove out to it. You're like, okay, that's cool. And then they like broke up. So now like she's like out of the videos, and like the videos are all his, and like she's doing her own thing. And it's like, man, that's what
now she doesn't really like his music, and he's like, now I can play what I want to play.
You should do that. Just Jim Cornette is exposed to music he has never heard before, because every little bit of that will be something you hate. So I think it'll be good content.
If I haven't heard it before, chances are I ain't gonna like it. I ain't gonna like it.
That's my dream content. Let me pick the music for you. It just have you.
Oh, Christ. But I can believe some of these people may have, not delved deep into the Alan Parsons Project catalog, but when you've got, it's like saying, well, I've never heard, Thriller.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. That's where, like, as a music fan, you're like, I don't need to see this one. It's like, for the first time ever, I listened to Bon Jovi. It's like, no, I don't give a fuck. If it was like, for the first time ever, I listened to Black Randy and the Metro Squad, then I'd be like, oh, fuck, this person's about to lose their mind.
Ah, well, yeah, because Randy hadn't been listened to in a long time.
That's right.
Do these people pay you in fucking free concert tickets to plug these obscure bands?
No, he's dead.
I have no idea who you're. Oh, is he dead? Well,
see? Long dead.
See? Well, he should have got out of the Rambone Squad or whatever the fuck it was.
He put out the classic album, Pass the Dust, I Think I'm Bowie. That great album. Featuring hits like I Slept in an Arcade. See, again, this is the stuff that people need to be exposed to, that maybe lost the time.
Yeah, I think he's probably dead because of the things that he was exposed to.
You're not wrong.
I'm usually not. And that's a great transition to speaking of not being wrong. This show, as we've said many times, is educational, informative, illuminative, enlightening. You get to learn. Okay, yes, that's the thing. It's all about the learning, Brian. You got to learn. You got to study. And see people from this show, they, by osmosis, they pick up things that help them. I want to commend Justin on Long Island. So I guess that's the way they say it. You're a native of the Long Island Chippewa Nation or whatever the fuck it is. If it normally it's I'm in Boston or I'm in New York or I'm in Philadelphia, but when you're in Long Island, you're actually just on Long Island.
I'm on the island.
That's the way it's said.
I'm on the island. I live on the island. I'm on the island. That's how you say it. Yeah.
Well, Justin is on Long Island, and you may be on some kind of goddamn nitrous. I don't know.
I wish. Where's Lano? Go ahead.
I think the nitrous people cut him off. he may have been. Who was it? Was it Charlie Sheen that said his drug dealer cut him off? It's the first time it's ever happened. Yeah, I think
it's Lano.
Yeah, Lano pioneered that when the nitrous companies cut him off.
You got a problem when your crack dealer's like, yo, man, we need to have an intervention.
Yeah. We just, I think you're not taking good care of yourself. All right. Anyway, back to Justin on Long Island.
Yeah.
He's got to get off this island. Can you send a boat for fuck's sake? You'll find a signal fire. Hey, Jim, wanted to thank you for the knowledge of the hot brown sandwich. I had a trivia contest at my company Christmas party yesterday. And the clue for one of the questions was sandwich made in a hotel in Louisville. And boom goes the dynamite. I nailed the question with the hot brown sandwich. Now, who knows what he might have got points with the boss here at his company Christmas party for being snappy and on the ball, full of instant spontaneous knowledge. He could have easily impressed one of the secretaries. It'll give him a Hummer under the desk at lunchtime. Any kind of benefit that can come from working at whatever this company is that had a Christmas party because of knowledge he learned right here, Brian. You're welcome, Justin. Thank you for thanking us. I got a couple of things here. We got to talk about this top of the program because I have seen a couple of people's emails. I'm trying to catch up. And I just want to recognize Lawrence, who wrote in and has lost his 12-year-old puppy, Hadrian. We talked about his partner in crime, he says Sabina, a couple years ago, passed away. And now Hadrian's gone, who was defending Lawrence and his wife from the local bears, who was about 5 times bigger than he were. Well, you say tomato and I say tomato.
Those
5 times
bears.
bigger than he was.
Yeah.
Well, those are big bears. They counted as 2 each. Anyway, Lawrence, we're sorry to hear about that. And also, Greg from Youngstown, his good little boy, Dante, is sick, but his brothers, Max and Charlie and Chester, along with Greg, are trying to take care of him. But we just wanted to wish them well. I didn't mean to bring everything to a screeching halt that we were yucking about there, but I have something. At least it made me feel better, Brian. It may make you feel worse because you recently suffered a drubbing unlike any that you have ever suffered before. Normally,
what have you heard?
There are people pro and con on any issue and whatever stance you take. You got people that are going to just hate you and there are people that are going to be your supporters, but it was unanimously, you were just kicked all to shit the other day in the comments section about me talking about these goddamn stupid seals they got on these things.
Oh, this nonsense.
And the seals and the reseals and all of the train seals and how you can't get into a package of anything anymore. Pills or pot or poop or fucking pussy or anything. It's all sealed up now. You need scissors to open up the package to get the pair of scissors you just bought out. Or you rip your fingernails out trying to get into goddamn ketchup or salad dressing or the tops off the medicine, your vitamin. It was my vitamin C, or was it the D? Or it could have been the B. And you scoffed at me. You said you had never heard about this problem before. And you said, well, I don't know what in the world you're talking about, Jim. You stared at me like I had turds hanging out of my mouth, steaming turds at that.
It was the level of the complaint, not the idea that there was any complaint at all. I hear plenty of really, really old people saying, oh, I can't get into this.
Hey, wait a minute.
I can't open these pills
you didn't have to
and this pot and this pussy, whatever else he said.
You didn't have to two really me's before you olded me. Now, goddamn it, for one thing, there was no reason we're really, really old. But another thing, in the comments coming from the cult of Cornette out there, we put this thing up for debate. There were people in their 20s and 30s that were saying, yes, God damn it, somebody finally, but everybody universally says somebody has finally has voiced our frustration. And that was why the vehemence of the argument of my presentation against these things was because I'd just been experiencing, and people have experienced that level of frustration where they've got a chisel trying to open the fucking bottle of ketchup or whatever. So, with that said,
you said you've used ketchup now twice. Is that you having a problem getting into Heinz ketchup?
Well, I'm just saying that's a universal thing because they've got the little pull tab on them now, at least the same as the salad dressings, whether it be your Thousand Island or your Caesar or your fucking French or your goddamn vinaigrette or whatever it may be. It's a universal fucking thing for all of those things. Next time I'll talk about the goddamn the Popeyes Blackened Ranch. You'd have to do the same goddamn thing. And then it just pulls off. And then you got all the little silver shit around the edge of the goddamn thing. You try to peel off so it doesn't get into the dressing and poison you because it's metallic, and then you're going to die of some kind of lead poisoning. I don't have time to be fighting some kind of goddamn poisonous metal disease that's taking over my bloodstream. Just trying to eat some fucking Thousand Island or ketchup.
Do you prefer glass ketchup bottles you have to pound to get any ketchup out of? Or stick a knife in and just hope some comes out with it?
No. Okay, see.
See what?
You have never smartened up to how you do this. This is not, no.
Well, you pound it on the label?
No, especially if there's a thick ketchup, but any kind of non-squeezable thing, the old glass ketchup bottle. You don't stick a knife in there, first of all, because all you do is just drag some out on the knife, and it makes a mess. And you don't turn it upside down and pound the bottom. Pounding the bottom does nothing because the physics of the not quite solid, not quite liquid that is still stuck upside down with some air forcing it in. What you do is you hold your left hand out on the right hand side of what you're wanting to ketchup in like a karate chop position. And you take the bottom of the bottle in your other hand and you turn it up at about a 45-degree angle, and you start sharply tapping the neck of the bottle up and down on your left hand that is in the karate chop position with a vigorous motion, not like you're jerking somebody off because you're going in the wrong direction, but kind of like you're trying to pound a little nail. And it will start flowing. And once it starts flowing, it will not stop until you tilt it back up past your goddamn tipping point.
Do you prefer glass Heinz ketchup to the squeezable bottles?
Well, I don't actually eat that much ketchup, but to the principle of your question, it depends. To me, the glass is better protection if they're going to leave them, sitting out at the local lunch counter or whatever, or the various, mid-level restaurants. Where do they do that anymore? Leave your ketchup and your mustard out and your things like that at the lunch counter or the diner or the wherever the fuck, Denny's. See, the plastic ones I never trusted because it looks less hygienic. Because the glass bottles have a cap on them that you're screwing on. But the fucking ones that just you pick up and squirt, well, there's still a little hole up there. What if some alien space spore lands off of collision from a meteor out in space and drifts down and just happens to be just big enough where it can fall down into that little squirt spout that's not covered up? And then you're fucked. Well, anyway, I had an email here, which I will tell you about. From David from St. Louis. Basically, the talking of the seals on the jars and the bottles and the like. He says in Missouri, they have legal marijuana and it is literally impossible to open. They put it in bags that have 3 to 5 seals. It's so complicated, you have to just cut it open and store it in your own Ziploc. He's had double wrist surgery and his wife is doing chemotherapy. And he's saying, for the patients that have a medical license for prescription marijuana, he's lost grip strength in his hands after his surgery, and she's not Danny Hodge, and they can't get into the goddamn weed that they get a prescription for their without,
They have to get an intern.
No, Tom Andrews, I think, is dead, and Jim Starr is booked.
Hey, listen, even if your wrists are in perfect shape, those bags are hard to get into because it's the modern Ziploc. I don't even know if you're allowed to call it that or if that's specific to the brand, but the modern seal, it's hard to actually find the part to peel open because if you do it wrong, you just rip the whole thing and then you have to put it in a Ziploc. And sometimes you do have to cut it down to like the very bottom of it and just hope you can get that seal.
Well, see, so you were lying to me. When
That's different than what you were saying in every way.
It's the flavor. It's the principle.
You made it all about ketchup. This guy made it about weed. I understood.
All right.
Weed and Ketchup. That's my upcoming album.
Oh, you know what that sound means, Brian?
No.
Since I got these new noise filters and my fucking sound effects don't work, I'm just making my own sound effects. I got something I want to do to you here. I got something in my hand. It is a program, and I want you to guess it. This is a surprise, reverse, upside down, bizarro world edition of Guess the Program. Are you up to the immediate challenge, completely cold, without having any knowledge of anything, a forethought besides what you've just heard?
I don't know. Usually I'm excited about this, and I would say yes, but you just tried to nail me with the safety seal talk. So I feel like you're kind of going in a let's screw with Brian this episode theme, and I'm a little scared.
Are you saying that there's some kind of rigging going on here where I'm trying to make this you look even worse than you normally do yourself?
That's kind of what
what you're saying.
Yeah.
David, one of the Cult Cornette members, and David, for what you sent me, I'm going to send you a free copy of Heroes and Friends, my new book, in return for this. One of the things he sent was a program. I ain't gonna tell you where he's from because of the concept of playing the Guess the Program. But I believe it is something that I think you can get it, but it might challenge you a bit.
Well, I'm ready to talk Minneapolis, 1958. Let's do it.
It ain't gonna work again, sunshine.
Oh, come on. Let's go to Chicago, 1949.
You're way
the Marigold.
You're getting even further. You're colder. No.
We're in the Budokan. It's 1978.
One time you just guess blindly and you're wrong by, what was it, 1 month and 60 miles or whatever, and you try to do it again every time.
It's going to work again one day.
All righty, this program that David sent me, the opening contest is Bad Boy Hines versus Frank Townsend. That is, they don't have the fall and the time here. They have a place where you can indicate the winner, but they don't have the falls and the time limits on these matches. But that's the opener. The second match, Nelson Royal versus Haru Sasaki. Nelson Royal and Haru Sasaki. I sound like Lance Russell now. That's the third match of the evening. Boy, that's going to be a real stem winder. And, I'm sorry, because the print is small and I ain't got my glasses on. I'm seeing of all these matches I'm telling you were under a one fall 15-minute time limit.
Okay.
Heading. So we got that going for us. Third match is Rocky Ford versus Frank Valois. And it's a double main event. The first half of it, apparently from the state of Kentucky, Man Mountain Campbell versus Don Leo Jonathan. And the last main event, both these 2 out of 3 falls, by the way, to a finish. Jerry Kozak versus Danny McShane. That's the big lineup for the evening in question.
All right. Well, I was going to a couple different places, and that main event narrowed it down maybe a little bit. You see Frank Valois, you look for Andre the Giant. This is pre-Andre the Giant, no Andre the Giant here. Obviously, Danny McShane's on the show. It's pre-Andre the Giant. That would put Nelson Royal pretty early in his career. Bad Boy Hines, Rocky Ford, Frank Townsend, Man Mountain Campbell versus Don Leo. So then you start saying if it's Don Leo, the likely suspects, the first ones are Pacific Northwest and Canada. And after that, it could be anywhere. He was an attraction, and he worked different places. Jerry Kozak versus Danny McShane, to me, it could be in a lot of places. Takes it to Texas, more than likely. This is not a Houston show. This would be maybe a show booked out by the Houston office, like a Beaumont, Texas, or I'm forgetting the names of some of the other towns, but there's other towns that were little offshoots of Houston.
So many towns running through my mind, Otis Sistron.
But a little town, an offshoot of Houston as opposed to Dallas or anything else. I'm going to go with Jerry Kozak versus Danny McShane. That's such an interesting main event there. I'm going to have to take a wild guess. Frank Valois. 1964. A town outside of Houston.
Oh, you had everything. You worked through the card perfectly. You identified all of the reasons why you would have thought one thing, and then finally you got to the right state, and it wasn't Houston. You were narrowing it down, and then you went sideways with small town around Houston. And your date's a touch off, but it's Monday evening, September 5th, 1960.
Yeah.
At the Northside Coliseum in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, shit. I never thought this would have been... I never would have gotten that this was Dallas or Fort Worth.
Well,
show.
Because the promoter, in none of the promoters listed... Promoter Kenneth Moore. Well, I guess he's the only promoter listed, but Dan Coates is your ring announcer. This is before Fritz bought into this office. So there's a whole different kind
So it
of
was
feel.
booked out by the Houston office.
Yes. Well, here's another thing. On the cover of the program with double main events slated tonight, and then it talks about the matches you're going to have, but on the left-hand side, a picture of Paul Bosch. Bosch gets last laugh, Tony rides donkey. Paul Bosch had the last laugh Monday night after beating tough Tony Bourne to take the main event. Paul got 2 straight falls over Bourne, the second and third falls in 9 3/4 and 8 minutes, respectively. Bourne took the first fall from Bosch in 10 minutes. 2 weeks ago, Bourne had the first laugh when he beat Paul and forced Bosch to have a yellow streak painted down his back. But Paul had the last laugh when Tony was forced to ride the jackass around the ring last week. That was the famous, the program that Bosch had with Tony Bourne not only was huge in Houston, but they did it in like places like Fort Worth and the other major cities in Texas that were being booked talent out of the Houston office at that point by the Seagulls. And again, it did sell out business in Houston when they did something else. No. I think Tony rode the donkey maybe in Fort Worth, but he had to wash the donkey in Houston. Was it not? They had a big tub, and he actually had to wash Paul Bosch's ass in the middle of the ring.
They did a few things a few different times, and it wasn't just Paul Bosch and him. It was also like Danny McShane and Bull Curry. Because wasn't there one where...
Yes.
Was it Danny McShane and Bull Curry had to like ride the donkey down the street? Like it had to be out in public.
But see,
the donkey riding.
And Paul Bosch, even at this point, had already retired. He had had a car wreck in the 40s, wasn't it? And become an announcer and worked in the office and was the television host, but not the promoter yet. But they had 2 guys that could talk and get in under each other's skin. And Paul was a natural baby face because he was the voice that people saw on television, and they drew huge money with these personal issues, draw money, right? And this was a classic example because at Texas wrestling is kind of where that thing started back in, as we've found from Scott Teal's research and going to look back at what Roy Welch learned in the 20s. They were doing outrageous shit to humiliate the heel or to get one up on the baby face where he had to get revenge. That was, They were drawing bigger crowds than the goddamn world champion when he'd come to the market. Anyway, and also, I got to...
who were the referees? Did it list the referees?
Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
Poor Marvin had to go solo. But Man Mountain Campbell...
Yeah, who's that?
There is a picture of him, and I swear to God, it looks like... And by the way, since I know you have some programs from this time period, you might look back, but fall of 1960. But it looks like a young, short-haired, short-beard, not fucking freaked out Big Bad John. And Campbell was not... What was Big Bad John's last name? Good God, I've gone blank. It wasn't Campbell. But because has anybody done a Big Bad John biography?
Well, it's been a hard thing to do. I think a few years ago on the Wrestling Classics message board, his daughter appeared to say, like, a lot of the rumors weren't true and here's what happened. According to Wikipedia, good old Wikipedia, Man Mountain Campbell was actually Luke Brown.
Luke Brown. Okay, I can see that now too. It's just, this is like a head and chest shot. So you can't really get an idea that he's fucking 7 feet tall or whatever the fuck. And
actually, it says here wrestler Frankie Townsend gave him the name Man Mountain Campbell, and he's on the show too, Frank Townsend. So there you go.
And he would later be one of the Kentuckians. So he switched the name, kept the Kentucky gimmick. But I want you to know also that at Carter's Cafeteria, Brian, 1st and Main Streets, you can get a T-bone steak cooked to order for 65 cents. And hot biscuits are free after 4:30. You can park for an hour free at Storeside also, just in case you were wondering.
That sounds good. I'm hungry. You hear about that and you're like, man, that's a good deal. I'll eat it all.
Oh, this was fucking with these old programs. You're like, Jesus Christ. You know that even if the guy's only making, I only made $50 that night, right? It was a fucking steak dinner was 16 cents. It's like, Jesus H. Christ, what's going on?
That's the thing too. It's like with inflation. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's about the value, but it's also when you look back and you see the bang for the buck you got. I used to hear these old timers fucking talk legit about like, how we go to Times Square and for a quarter, I got 2 movies, a show, a short, a cartoon, a live band, and they're serious, and a Coke. And now, I mean, put that with inflation, it wouldn't be 25 cents back then. It would be a lot more. So it's crazy.
Do you know the name Wally Dusick, right?
Of course.
And he was, there was Ernie, there was Emil, there was Joe, and there was Rudy. That was the Riot Squad. But old Wally Dusick was, goddamn, by the time I tell this story, you may be able to Google that. It's my story, but he was some legitimate relation to the Dirty Dusicks, the pioneer Dusick wrestling family in the 20s and 30s that popularized tag team wrestling. It, caused riots because they were such heels and, went to such lengths and took liberties with people.
Wally Dusick was the stage name of professional wrestler Charlie Santon.
Okay, then he wasn't a member of the... But he worked with them, didn't he?
And he did work with them. He was billed as one of their brothers, but they were actually unrelated. He was trained by John Piesick. And
yes,
he is the father of Captain Frank Dusick.
Well, yes, who later on worked for Crockett and in the Dallas office and was one of the handlers of Kamala at one point. Didn't they do that in Dallas or something? Nevertheless, Wally Dusick was trained by John Piesick, who was the Nebraska Tiger Man, who was a professional wrestler in 1900 something and world champion and best in the world in the teens. Am I getting dates approximately correct? Wally Dusick used to come to the matches in Charlotte. When I was there working for Crockett, and he would sit, and I think he was still he might have been getting a payoff when we first got there just to come and watch the monitor is Wally Dusek, right? But he point is, here's a guy who was trained, and I'm sitting there in 1986 talking to him, and he was trained by the guy that was a world champion in the 19 teens. I don't know, he was 80 something years old, whatever. And you mentioned more bang for your buck, and that I was going to make a joke, and it made me think of Wally Dusek because he told me in the Midnight Express one time this long rambling story. Well, shouldn't say rambling. It wasn't like he was rambling. It was a long, detailed story of how when he first broke into business, this was 1920 something, that he went on a wrestling tour of Alaska and the Yukon. Remember, like Frank Gotch did at one point when nobody knew who he was, and he went up there and won people's money. That made him think he was a nobody. He just beat everybody and left, and they got took. And he could actually get banged for a buck. He told us this story of he had this match in this fucking gold mining camp in the Yukon, and then I'm thinking in my mind, I'm picturing goddamn Amanda Blake on Gunsmoke. He gets one of the girls from the saloon and takes her out back, and she agrees to fuck him for $1, right? A silver dollar. It was still legitimate currency that was circulating. He pays her a silver dollar. And then she sticks it in her drawers. And as they're doing this, he's reaching around because he thinks he feels that silver dollar. And so when they get finished with their business, he somehow manages to pull that silver dollar back and stick it in his pocket. And then they walk on their various way down the street, and he reaches in to get that dollar and finds that he pulled out a scab.
Oh, what? What?
So see, the moral of that story is don't take it if you can get a bang for a buck.
All right, that took a turn. That was Guess the Program, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it certainly was.
Guess the Scab, I guess, maybe. Wow.
Well, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. There's an easier way to make money and store currency. Oh, our friends at DraftKings Casino, Brian. I'll tell you what, they're back because the holidays are back, and the holidays are even on the house at DraftKings Casino. Think about this now. They've just told me about this. We're going to learn about it together. It's the one version of holiday chaos that might actually pay off. They have now delivering the kind of drama you actually want, the fun, the suspense, the big reveal here in the holidays without the bad lighting or the family. Oh, family sequel. I thought, well, also, if you're sick of your fucking family, also turn to DK Casino. I'll tell you what. Because they paid out the largest online casino jackpot in U.S. history. That's what they've done. So to have them, they're on Santa's good list because they just paid some schlub who knows how many gazillion dollars. And then they've awarded over $500 million in jackpots. And all you have to do is just sit there in the virtual DraftKings Casino. Think about it, Brian. No watered down drinks. No annoying whores trying to charge you a buck for a bang. Because you know what happens when you get that. You can sit in the privacy of your own home and still be at the DraftKings Casino because of the DraftKings Casino app.
Yeah.
When you download the DraftKings, especially you download their app, you've got one of these new fangled space age computer screens that's so wide. It instantly transforms you to where you think you're on the floor at Caesars or fucking some other hot casino like that they have these days. That's what it looks like. And then you just stick your head right in the screen and you drink your own watered down drink. And instead of that hooker, you just take care of things. Take things into your own hands. And it'll be just like it's like a virtual. Well, that's the thing. You got to have glasses, right? For the virtual casino.
Listen, I don't know what the hell
where you're just immersing yourself in the experience. But now just watch out. You don't play somebody else's quarter in the slot machine.
Ladies and gentlemen, none of this is anything. You need not worry about what was just said. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. What you need to do is sit back, and if you are inclined to play the casino, play the DraftKings casino, play it. Play it like you're in a band. Yes. Or go there and play today and check it out. They've got slots and lots and lots of slots. DraftKings Casino.
And new players, if there are any amongst you who have not partaken so far in the DraftKings Casino experience, where you immerse yourself into this thing and it becomes like a fucking heavy metal type of heavy metal where you're floating through space. It's the whole thing. And then new players can play $5 and get 50 spins a day for 10 days on the cash eruption slots. So if you just play $5, that's 50 spins a day for 10. Gee, I can't do that all that, man. That's like 500. If you can't win something by then, you're cursed. You're just a worthless.
Let's not say
fucking
that.
Sack of shit. No, nothing good will ever happen for you if you can't win at least something out of like 500 spins or for $5.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's
if you're a homeless bum under the overpass, you get $5. What else are you gonna do with $5 these days? You can't get a ham sandwich. Play it here, and you make something of yourself, and then you could shave and clean your clothes, where you could get a job and become a productive member of society. All due to the DraftKings Casino.
You went so much further than when I was originally going to stop you that I don't even know if I should address the previous things. But if you are homeless, don't do this. There are things that you need to prioritize in your life. This is not a message for people out there who don't have time, some money, and the time to enjoy it without worry of frostbite.
Well, there's a problem with time. You know, Brian, every year is getting shorter and never seem to find the time. Plans that either come to naught or half a page of scribbled lines, but nevertheless, you folks can, at least you can, well, you can't take it with you, but you can leave it to somebody when you go, so you need to get it now. And then figure out who to give it to. But right now, that's with the code Cornette. Now, I should mention this, that if you want to take that $5 that's just laying in somebody else's pocket doing them no good, and go ahead and get 50 spins a day for 10 days, that's with the code Cornette, as my name is spelled Cornette. It's an E on the end. I don't know why they made the code so long instead of the other code, but nevertheless, enjoy holidays on the house, their house. And that's our gift to you this holiday season. Of course, with DraftKings Casino, they're the ones that they're actually, holding members of our family until we complete this.
No, they're not. Jesus, we're at the end of this thing. Why do you have to take it over the line right at the end, ladies and gentlemen? With happy sounds and no worries about your family, everyone is safe. Let's keep it that way. Jim, one more time, how can the listeners get this great deal and save us from more metaphorical comments from you? What's that promo code? We're almost there, folks. There's a promo code, I understand, Jim. Do you happen to have that promo code handy?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously the excitement that DK Casino brings is on full exhibit right here.
I can't find my goddamn thing to click on here. Nevertheless, it's Cornette is what it is.
That's right.
But see, we gotta do
our good friends at DK Casino. That's what we meant to say.
See, there's something we got to do here. We have to tell people more of this information. And I'm just trying to draw a deep breath.
I forgot about this part. Oh, no.
Yeah, shit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Void in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable casino spins issued as 50 spins per day for 10 days. Valid for featured games only and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends January 25th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm dizzy.
The crown is yours from our good friends at DraftKings DK Casino. Once again, use that code Cornette. We love them. You'll love them. And on with the show.
All right, Brian. Anyway, as we have taken a moment to compose ourselves, there's something else in the local news, and it follows up on some things we've been talking about on the program, and it also concerns one of our sponsors and our friends here at Cornbread Hemp, because we had told people on the shows a few weeks ago that, and commented on it several times, and it came to pass that when the Republicans said, okay, we're going to shut the government down unless you let us starve 20 million people or take 20 million people off their health care. And we went through that whole kerfluffle. And the Democrats caved on everything. But nevertheless, one of the provisions that our departing Senator Mitch McConnell put in there because of his senility basically made illegal hemp products and CBD things. Basically, almost, I think, 98% of anything derived from hemp that is currently legally available on the market is going to go away. And it made big news here in Kentucky because Cornbread Hemp and Jim Higdon, who's the boss over there, they built themselves up into one of the hot new companies in the country. And it's a, multi-$100 million a year industry, and it's employing thousands of people in the state. And as it stands now, they'll be out of business along with a lot of other people and companies in various places in a year. And Rand Paul, our other weird senator, who's not a mega weird guy, he's just a weird guy, but so he does his own thing.
Old school wig wearing weird.
There you go. I mean, his next door neighbor beat the shit out of him. Remember that? When you get over yard work, when you get that much heat, but nevertheless,
it was Landon.
No, Landon would have turned and run. Anyhow, Rand Paul's trying to stop and put a provision in to save this industry for the state and whatever, but that, who knows? So obviously, if you haven't heard us talking about Cornbread Hemp lately, they've cut back on their advertising through no fault of their own. It's the federal government, but they hope to be pursuing these other options. But there was another story, Brian, on the news, which again shows, Jesus H. Christ, what are people thinking of? Cornbread Hemp is still operating, and they had an employee that was there that I won't tell you what he was doing for the purpose of the headline of this story, but we'll get into that later. But he was a menial employee, right? Doing a menial task at Cornbread Hemp. And he's on parole because he's an ex-con. And come to find out that, Cornbread Hemp was the only ones that would hire him because they believed him and he, was trying to be sincere. And this ex-con is not an illegal alien or even a legal alien or any other kind of minority. He's a white fucking guy from Kentucky, probably about 50 years old, right? And he said, I was in prison because of, drugs. It's not like he murdered anybody. And I don't want to go, I don't want to die in prison. I don't want to go back there. I'm, trying to straighten out and I need this job to pay my bills. His parole officer came in and said, no, you got to stop working here. You're done this Friday. Get out, because you might come into contact with THC. Guess what the guy does? He is a dishwasher. He washes the pans that they make the CBD gummies in. And Jim Higdon even was on the news saying, I even invited the guy, whoever this administrating authority is or whatever, to come to our facility and see that there's no way that he's going to be in contact with THC. It's impossible. And that he's been a model employee and they won't come and talk to us. So they're making the guy that actually got an honest job quit on the company that they've goddamn run out of business.
And this is because of the thing McConnell had put in the bill?
Well, no, this is his parole officer being a dick. The company's going out of business because of the fucking thing McConnell put in the bill. But I mean, how much more can you fuck with anybody? That's why everybody should go to cornbreadhemp.com and just buy all of their shit just to fucking, and what was our promo code?
/JCE. I was about to add
JCE.
Code JCE at checkout.
Well, yeah, because it's not their fault. And that's not even a paid announcement, ladies and gentlemen, but for fuck's sake, can you believe this shit?
Again, because it's a rather new industry and a growing industry, it's easy to think of it as kind of a new thing, but imagine if this kind of thing was done to anything else. Just all of a sudden something was put in a bill that outlawed wrestling. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's literally a business where lots of people have lots of money invested in it because they were told it's legal, do it. You're fine. Not, we may claw all this back and cost you everything. That's bullshit. That's crazy.
So anyway, I'll try to keep up to date on if they have any updates on what is going on with this poor dishwashing guy. But Jesus H. Christ.
And this is in the news, though? It's getting publicity, this story?
Yeah, this was I saw it on TV, unless they were just broadcasting it just for me.
How much talk is there about cornbread hemp locally right now?
Well, it's not just, they are at the forefront of it because they're the leaders in the industry. What did the old WWF signature used to say? The number one leader in sports entertainment. Well, they're the big dogs, but it's the whole industry because there's other people involved in the state. So it's not like that, that it's not something that is on all the TV stations in Kentucky. It'd be like if they took oranges away from California. What in the world? Where would all of the poor people fucking...
Right. That's better. That's better than my outlawing pro wrestling comparison, for the record. That's a much better comparison than what I said.
Well, there you go. Yeah. What if they went to California and just say, well, you can't sell oranges anymore. Fuck them. They're rotting people's teeth. Too much sugar. Or if they went to Michigan and said, well, we don't want you to make cars anymore. Well, that may be a poor example anyway. Or Florida and said, we don't want you to open a nursing home.
Let's go state by state. What else you got? What do you got for Alabama?
We don't want you to have any more family court officers. Anyhow. So
cornbreadhemp.com/JCE.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And speaking of another JC, me, JimCornette.com. That's the way we got into that. Thank you again, folks. As we sit here now, recording this, it is December the 12th, and I am working on things through today to be handed off to Hotchkiss Feather Bottom in 2 days in the middle of our snowstorms. to be put labels on and shipped out, and everything will be caught up to then by the 17th deadline at the post office is administered for domestic delivery. And we're taking a break because he's still sick and I'm frozen. We will be taking and processing orders, but our next mailing, because you can't get it by Christmas now anyway, will come after we take our Christmas break, which will come in about 10 or 12 days from now. I said that in an unwieldy fashion, but yeah, we're not mailing next week is what it's fucking Christmas. Jesus Christ. Help us.
There is a week.
We're just only two men.
There is a week between Christmas and New Year's where people still want to receive things in the mail.
Well, and sometimes that will happen. Oftentimes that does happen. Might not happen. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But JimCornette.com for those who get some Christmas money and would like to peruse the available fine, high quality, low cost merchandise. See, that's what we do. We make up for the low cost with the high quality.
I'll have a ribeye for 65 cents.
That's what we're making it up in volume. and just because that way, the more you sell, it's not what you make, it's what you save.
That's right.
See, all of these things don't go together, do they? That's why my steak restaurant went out of business. You don't remember that Corny's House of Meat? I thought the concept was sound.
I don't know what happened.
Well, the problem was, I think, having the pen of cows next to the side of the restaurant where you could go and literally choose your own steak, it was too time consuming. I think people weren't willing to wait. All righty then. I got to lean over away from the microphone to get something. So just play your organ, Brian. All right, that's okay. All right. We're good. We're good. And I yanked my headphones.
Thank you for saying it's good. I appreciate it.
You know what I was going to surprise you about? Did I do that?
Is this the theme of the episode? What is that? Again, you're surprising me about something.
Well, I was going to surprise you about a couple of things today, but you had already heard about this thing that I was going to bring up to you when I brought it up to you earlier before we went on the air. There is a book that I was convinced that you would not be aware of, that you indeed have already ordered and purchased on your own and are awaiting delivery of same. So I failed in that endeavor, but I wanted to bring it up on the air because a fella named Kevin McCann, who is from West Tennessee, from around the Jackson area. I'm trying to pick up this giant phone book. And so, well, nevertheless, Kevin's from out in West Tennessee. And he has written a couple of books on different, not wrestling, but just different personalities and happenings in West Tennessee. And then he hit on the idea from childhood memories and etc. on compiling a record book and kind of a biography, overall biography on Rowdy Red Roberts. And I got this in the mail the other day because Mark James down in Memphis, who's a friend of mine, had seen Kevin and recommended, Cornette will love this. And he was right. And I'm going to get back with Kevin too directly, but if he hears this. But Rowdy Red Roberts was one of the pioneer Southern heels. He was a member of Roy Welch's bass crew that he always used in every territory that he and his family opened. It was Roy Welch and his brothers Herb and Lester, and it was Pat Malone, the Green Shadow, and Rowdy Red Roberts, and a few others that for 20 years kind of established the Tennessee territory, which the Tennessee territory influence and style at one point from the 40s to the 80s was Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, the Gulf Coast, points into Missouri. but that whole style. And Brian, you said that you had seen it on the interwebs and had just ordered it. And so you blew my surprise on that, but you're going to like it. I'll give you an advance heads up. You're going to like it, but it's as big as a phone book. What he has done, Kevin McCann, is gone through it with extensive newspaper research, the newspaper ads, the things that we talk about here on the show all the time. And he's compiled a record book from Roberts' first known matches in like 1937 till his last match. I think he retired finally in 1969. And not everything is there, but I guarantee you he's got 3 shows a week of this guy's at least for 30 fucking years or whatever. But what attracted you to find this, and how did you get it?
I was on Amazon and I was buying something, and it was in one of the recommended books there because I was buying a wrestling book and I had not heard anything about it. I said, let me get this. There's no reason I wouldn't take a risk on this. I mean, even if it's awful. There's a few books I have that are terrible still. And it's the only book I got that day. I ordered several different books. It's the only one that like they will let me know when it will ship. They don't even know, apparently. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it's brand new. It's from Bray Bree, Braybree, Bray Bree Books at braybreebooks.com. I swear to God, I don't know why they named that thing that. And they're in Dixon, Tennessee, which is right up the road from Bucksnort. But anyways, a couple things. There's one thing I want to talk about today. I haven't had a chance to obviously read this whole thing. It's huge, cover to cover, but flipping through, something addresses topic that we've talked about recently, but right at the start in the introduction, because Kevin does kind of give a biography as best can be, put together of Red Roberts' life, and not only inside the ring, but also outside, as much as public records can tell. But when we tell some of these stories, like in my book, Heroes and Friends, some of the things that are recounted of the Tennessee territory, and it's like, how do they know the finishes? Brian, have you heard anybody asking this? How do they know the finish of this match from 1946? I can understand the result, but how do they know that so-and-so swung the cane and hit the guy? Especially the Gulas Welch office in Nashville, in Chattanooga, in Birmingham. We've read some stuff from the Kazana promotion in Knoxville. And especially in the days before television was a thing, the way they promoted their weekly matches was in the newspaper. And a lot of times a little, 5-inch column in the newspaper, the Nashville Banner, would it be like somebody from Gulas's office wrote it? Yeah, and the manager came in and hit him with his boot and blah, blah, blah. And the third fall, it's a big dispute or whatever. And they would press. So we get to kind of have a look back, even though no film exists, no recordings of any kind, at what this shit looked like, right? Brian, have I conveyed that message correctly to where people kind of understand how we're able to put this shit together?
I think so.
So one of the best descriptions in this paragraph I'm going to read you, one of the best descriptions that I've ever heard of a Southern heel. I know specific guys that did all of these things that I'm going to talk about, but it's like this guy was the guy that people coming up into business in the South and working in the Nashville office, they would see on top in the main events, and they would say, okay, I'm going to steal that and this and the other thing. And then you have 5 that stole it, and then 10 stole it from them. And then it became a thing wrestling wide, right? Listen to this description of a heel. And this is taken from a couple of different newspaper accounts that he's drawn from. So far as fan appeal among the villains, nobody can approach Red Roberts. He shaved his head, and a thin red mustache made him look like a villain. Red enjoyed baiting the crowd, taking his time walking to the ring and arguing with fans along the way. He drew heat with his swagger, his strut, and, quote, that funny little face which always provokes a genuine round of boos. Like any good heel, the standard fare for a Rowdy Red Roberts match included short body punches, hair pulling, biting, and eye gouging out of sight of the referee. He would drive his knee into their abdomen coming off the ropes. Roberts was theatrical, mixing drama with comedy in his performance. Fans remembered him talking loudly enough for them to hear out in the crowd. When his opponent had him in an armbar, Roberts would groan and cry out, "You're killing me! Her ref, he's breaking my arm!" A hard landing on his backside and a grimace on his face amused the kids. If Roberts had his adversary in a submission hold, he'd gleefully exclaim, "I'm going to break it, boy, give it up." He would bite, stick his thumb in their eye, rake their eyes along the top rope. Using the drawstring from his trunks, he'd wrap it tightly around his opponent's neck. The referee would question him about it, but he shook his head innocently, saying, "No, no, no." If things weren't going his way, he'd stay outside the ring and stall for time. Then he might deviously take out a foreign object concealed in his trunks, in view of the crowd, but not the referee, to gain the advantage. When's the last time you saw anybody do any of that shit?
Well, that sounds like a classic heel. I mean, MJF obviously has elements of that, although he wouldn't have ever seen any footage of Rowdy Red Roberts. But like you said, the guys who saw him were the guys who took over, and the guys who the next generation saw him, and the next generation, and you know that's a heel.
And that's the thing is, when I started going to the matches in the early 1970s and watching on television, the same office that this guy and Pat Malone and the Roy Welch established, but these other guys, the same style, the same, even though it had spread to other parts of wrestling and people took this and that, it was the same office that was still booking the matches and still promoting the matches. And the people in charge were the ones that had either taught these people or fucking had learned from them or whatever, still to that point. And it was like a look back in time. And one of the reasons why that a lot of the guys in the business in the 70s or 80s thought, Tennessee, in the 50s and 60s, they didn't like Tennessee because Nick paid them like shit. But in the 70s and 80s, Tennessee was, that bullshit. The people had been trained to believe, the audience to believe that these people were legitimately who they were purported to be. So while all this sounds hokey now, as we see from the newspaper reports, the police reports, the goddamn criminal records, whatever, the heels of that time, like Rowdy Red Roberts doing that shit, provoke people to get in the ring and attack them and knife them and stab them and cut them and hit them with shit. Because they'd never seen anything like it and nobody had ever smartened them up yet. And that gradually it helped become part of wrestling, in the personal issues draw money, and the Tennessee style was also let the heels just get outrageous amounts of heat. And they learned that. Roy Welch, as we established from another one of Scott Teal's books on Amarillo, but when we've talked about pioneer wrestling before, Roy Welch is breaking in, and a kid out in West Texas in Amarillo in the Depression, and sees guys like Cal Farley, and the original Dutch Mantel, and those guys promoting the matches where the welterweight champion Jack Reynolds would come to town, and they'd draw 8,000 people in Amarillo when there was 40,000 people in the fucking town, and, no interstates and crop dusting planes. They're the generation that would actually get in a fight on the street to get legitimately arrested and go to jail and make the newspapers so that they could promote a goddamn rematch and a wrestling match. But they would clean the fuck up. And so I just love this shit from these guys that they made such an impression on people because they were able to make people believe in their personalities to the point that they could do all this shit and people would buy it. And as Dennis Condrey used to say, this kind of heel would make the people laugh when the babyface made a fool out of him, and then make him even madder when he took over because he made him mad because he made him quit laughing. And I've seen that, not in the last 30 years, but as a kid, I saw that happen where a match would start out with the fucking babyface doing all kinds of laughing gaga and the people laughing at the heel. And by the time the afterbirth was kicked in, after the fuck finish or whatever, there were people hitting the ring to try to get the fucking heels.
Well, obviously, you're going to get less of that. There's more barricades, and the people paying for ringside now don't want to go.
There's a whole lot less provocation for any of the fans that jump in the ring and do it. They know they can kick the shit out of the boys already in most cases, and they don't overserve people so they don't get drunk and want to be in the ring to be on TV. So they just kind of sit there and yawn.
When did he retire? When was his last match?
1969.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which at that point, I'm, hold on, haven't read the whole thing, but I will go ahead because I believe he was probably about 62 years old, 63 years old, something like that. And then he did another little local thing where he came out of retirement down in Gadsden, Alabama, because he had been probably friends with Bill Golden, Jimmy Golden's dad, the promoter down in Montgomery that had the territory there. And he came back as a special referee and I think cornered the baby faces. And then, yes, at his last match, he worked with somebody named Duke Savage in 1973 in Anniston, Alabama. But he refereed on a show in 1971 at the convention hall in Gadsden, a Bill Golden show, where guess who else was on the card besides Rowdy Red Roberts as referee?
Pat Malone?
No. You'll never, I'm not going to hold you up all day. Beside Jimmy Golden, which maybe that's a gimme, but that was Jimmy Golden's rookie year. Dennis Hall, who you will remember from the Tennessee territory in the early mid-70s, was a fairly recognized name. Ricky Gibson, Robert Gibson's older brother, in May 1971, he was a rookie. And rounding out the card, that kid from Memphis named Jerry Lawler. So in Gadsden, Alabama, you had Jimmy Golden, Dennis Hall, Ricky Gibson, Jerry Lawler. Just on the, all right. Anywho, this is what I wanted to talk to you about because we've been talking about the different television wrestling programs, and we talked about the pioneer days of television and what the schedule was in New York in 1947 was where wrestling was on pretty much every night of the week on a lot of the stations. And then we've talked about early studio wrestling, and we mentioned the number of studio televisions that the Gulas Welch office had. They always had one in Nashville and one in Chattanooga and one in Birmingham and one, obviously the Memphis TV existed kind of as an island of its own all those years until Jarrett got heavily involved. But there was more than we thought there was. Because if you look in this book, in those days, they used to advertise some of the matches in the paper. They would have an ad for Watch All-Star Wrestling on, channel whatever tonight, featuring so-and-so versus so-and-so. And in the record book, we're able to glean some of these deals. There were obviously in Nashville, we've talked about the live studio wrestling show that Gulas and Welch got on the air in 1955 was a big hit, and at one point was 2.5 hours long, Saturday nights from 9:30 to midnight, right? You were like, Jesus Christ, is never over. And that's where it became a local thing around town, when every night after the live studio wrestling show was over with, Nick Gulas would tell his little son, George, to go to bed. I'd like to say goodnight to my son, George. Go to bed, Georgie. But anyway, for example, in 1959, the show was airing on WSIX Channel 8 in Nashville from 9:30 to 11:30. So it was only 2 hours at that point. And Brian, did you see all the people going, what the fuck? Why is it WSIX Channel 8? Did you see those questions?
No, I did not actually.
But it looks so incongruous. Originally, when it went on the air, those many years ago, WSIX was on Channel 6. But there's also a Channel 5 in Nashville. And there was interference, so they had to switch frequencies, but they'd already had their call letters and it blah, blah, blah. So everybody's not crazy, right? It spells 6, but it's 8. Anyway, but then just a couple of weeks later here, he's listed for Saturday, September 19th, 1959, live wrestling in Birmingham, Alabama, WAPI TV, Channel 13 from 10:30 to midnight on Saturday night. The show in Birmingham, and it was on a couple of different stations that I've seen in this book, but it was at least an hour, but most often an hour and a half. And I saw at one point, I think it was 2 hours.
That's the show that we were talking about that came up during Guest the Program, where I said, wow, look at this, 10:30 p.m. start time. Yes,
and that was the thing when I've told a story about Eddie Marlin and when he was on top, having to do 4 fucking basically TV shows a day. They had these studio shows in all of their major markets. And remember, Jackie Fargo got 2 different angles worth out of one hard way doing that. They did the Chattanooga TV at 5 o'clock where Phil Higgerson punched him in the face for real and hard weighed him, and he was bleeding and his eye swelled up. And I remember seeing it. I was like, God damn, he's punched him in the face. I'm 14, but I was like, I know the difference here. And then I think they did some kind of deal, possibly at the house show that night in Chattanooga, because it was 5 o'clock TV and 8 o'clock. And then they ran in on Hickerson, and it was Hickerson and Condrey in the first instance, and then the Bounty Hunters, he ran in on them on the Birmingham TV with his face all beat up and still bloody and his clothes torn, and claimed they'd run him off the road and beat him up on the way to the studio. And they had a big fan. He called Roughhouse in for 2 weeks at Christmas time, and they all drew nothing but money. It was insane. Nevertheless, the following Saturday, he was on studio wrestling on WPSD TV in Paducah, Kentucky. Paducah had its own live studio show that apparently they did business out of there for quite some time, according to these records.
So that's Gulas Welch in Paducah.
It's one of the people that would have been beholden to the booking office. Because, see, they had, in a lot of cases, I mean, Herb Welch was actually the promoter of record in Blytheville. But they had a local promoter in a lot of these places. Bill Golden was Northern Florida, Northern Alabama, rather. And Herb Welch maybe did Missouri. But Don Pruitt was running Monticello, Kentucky here, is listed. And then he was back with, again, another week on Paducah Studio Wrestling, Herb Welch and Rocky Smith against Rowdy Red Roberts and Sonny Fargo. And that was, again, 5:30 to 6:30 in the evening.
What year is this?
A Saturday. 1959.
59. Sonny Fargo, wow.
And because Sonny was, he was always floating around the business in little spots, but without the actual brothers bringing him in, it wasn't anything to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, at this very time, Jackie Fargo's a main eventer elsewhere. I don't even know if he was getting along with Don Fargo at that point, but I assume maybe
they were still together and elsewhere. I think that's why Sonny was working Hopkinsville at the National Guard Armory. But anyway, at this point in time, also you're seeing that some attendances are listed whenever, that they were reported in the paper, but it was again steady. You see Birmingham drawing 4,000 people, 5,000 people. You see Chattanooga doing 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. You see Knoxville doing 3,000. Nashville doing, it was always the Hippodrome only seated, you couldn't Vaseline 3,000 probably in. So, but it was always the largest crowd ever, standing room only, whatever. But all of these towns were being fed by all of these local televisions. And I mean, this was just in 1955 and 56, he was on a lot of TVs. In 57, he was on live wrestling on WSFA in Montgomery, Alabama, from 11 p.m. to midnight on Saturdays. Birmingham then was an hour-and-a-half program. But it was on WABT.
How many of these programs were hosted by the biggest local television star in the market?
Well,
or one of them.
It's questionable. Some of these fucking markets maybe only had television for a year and a half, so it's questionable whether anybody would be called a big star. A lot of them became the big star at the station if they were on the wrestling program. Does that make sense? Is that they were another station employee, or they might do the sports on the news. And in these days, local newscasts were 15 minutes at night. So a staff announcer or somebody that's doing the local lunchtime, we've talked about local television, who's doing the local lunch show, whatever. But the wrestling program, if they were good and stuck with it, then that's what they would be known for sometimes in the market. And then, of course, like in Chattanooga, Harry Thornton had been on the air since people started breathing it.
That's who I was thinking of specifically.
It was a toss-up whether he was bigger because of his morning show or bigger because of wrestling, but that's why he was the biggest thing, because he was the two biggest shows in town. But they were both equally to probably many different audiences. They were the biggest things that people watched locally in Chattanooga. But nevertheless, there were, and then it's the Knoxville TVs and various places where they just kept these guys. So there's no way that they could possibly make all the towns that they booked in these territories. If they were, in the territory for like a year and a half, they just kept circulating them back and forth. There would be people in Western Kentucky and the Blytheville, Arkansas area, while there was a different crew in Nashville and Birmingham. There's a different crew in maybe East Tennessee. And then to keep him fresh, every once in a while they'd send him to the smaller circuit in northern Alabama or down to Florida. He was on the Gulas and Welch booked the state of Florida, or what there was of it, in 1944 for 3 years, and they'd send him there or whatever the fuck. It's very interesting. It's amazing even. I can't wait for you to get your copy, but I can't tell you when it's going to come because you're not friends of Kevin's like I am.
I'm sorry about that, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's amazing, as we always say, how much great wrestling research and how much you could learn about history right now that we've never learned before. Wrestling's unlike any other sport or entertainment or anything else. There's like a lost history that you just need someone to uncover it.
It takes a lot of hard work. Brian, is what it takes. It takes all kinds of hard work.
It takes a working man.
It takes a working man, and it takes a working man to get deep into bullshit too, doesn't it? Just to slop around in the muck and the mire until you get to the gold and the bottom of the hill and the mine deep in the coal and whatever the fuck you're digging for. Just protect your feet is what I'm saying to you, Brian. And make sure you've got good balance and warm feet. That's all that people can hope for these days. And that's why that we want to recommend to you folks out there in podcast land, our friends over at Brunt. It's spelled like grunt, except with a B, because you will not grunt when you put these on. You will go, ooh, it'll feel so good. Brian, isn't that a great feeling when you need to go out and step around in some mud and horse shit and cow shit and pig shit and muskrat shit and raccoon shit, squirrel shit, ocelot shit, aardvark shit, ostrich shit, any of that stuff. And you can put these boots on where you know that your tootsies won't get around in the feces. And you just slip your feet into these Brunt work boots from BruntWorkwear.com. And instantly your little tootsies go, oh, you're not going to stick me toes first in shit today. And they feel grateful. And then they help you out later on. Because when somebody comes up and wants to steal your Brunt workwear boots, then you can kick the shit out of them.
Okay, you're
because if somebody goes for your feet, boom! As soon as they bend over, just kick them right in the goddamn jaw. And
why would they go for your boots while you're wearing them? That doesn't make any sense. They're gonna double leg you.
Well, how in the world are they going to follow you around until you take them off?
Oh, well, that seems more logical than some stranger's going to walk up to you and double leg you to take your boots.
That could take all day. How often is somebody going to take off these comfortable boots? Well, sometimes people sleep in them, go to bed in them. I mean, that's the kinky ones, but anybody to his own thing. But nevertheless,
no,
you can't wait for people to take these boots off because they don't want to take them off because they feel so good. So you got to go and you got to double leg these sumbitches if you want to steal their boots.
Don't steal anyone's boots. Don't give that wasn't what you were doing. You weren't giving people advice on how to do it. You were just talking about a scenario, a metaphorical scenario, and then all of a sudden you make it advice.
What I'm saying to you is that I was saying when people go to double leg you, you kick them in the jaw with these Brunt work boots, and that'll fuck them up. And you said that, well, who's going to double leg you and try to steal? Well, I just proved to you that these people are going to fucking tackle you.
Listen, the point is that not everyone out there is worried about walking through cow shit and pig shit and ocelot shit and maybe not even worried about someone trying to double leg you and steal your boots. Sometimes you just have to walk through a little bit of mud to get to the car. And sometimes...
I'll give you another example. I'll give you an example right here. It's been snowing.
Yeah.
Been snowing all over the place. Looks like Tony Khan's living room table. And I have to walk down a driveway 200 feet long at what is that angle? Is that a 40 degree or a 35?
What is this? Come on. What are you talking?
I got to walk down in the snow and the ice to get my mail and to take the garbage can down. And so I put on my Brunt workwear, Brunt work boots. I got the Marin style, by the way, and they got the tread on the bottom of them and that I don't slip and bust my ass. And I can also dig in with those big old toes and those non-slip surfaces, and they're waterproof so my tootsies don't get cold or wet. And I can push my garbage bucket with the wheels on it through the snow up the drive. See, uphill, downhill, you don't want to slip and you'll get brain damage. See, because
don't say that.
Well, if you slip backwards, you'll damage your brain.
If a rocket lands on my head right now, things will happen. It'll mess up my haircut.
I'm telling you, folks, if you're as old as I am and you're walking downhill, you'll get brain damage if you don't wear Brunt workwear boots. And walking uphill,
you can't say that. But Brunt workwear boots are comfortable.
Well,
they are functional. They are there for you to escort you up or downhill. That's the Brunt promise.
I can say if you'll get brain damage if somebody kicks you in the head with one of these, but also if you're walking uphill, Then if you slip, you'll just smash your face and you'll break your nose and knock your teeth out. And so you need the treads to keep from, if you don't wear brunt workwear boots when walking uphill, then you'll have to have plastic surgery.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, stylish, comfortable, functional. You can go out and do a hard day's work in these boots. You can go out.
You can do a hard day's work.
You can go out and not violate that
and
publishing.
Your feet are feeling fine.
What we're saying is they're also stylish. You'll look good in them. You'll like wearing them. They are the finest boots I've ever had. I'll tell you that. They sent over a very nice pair. And,
but look at the daggum. You normally wear shoes that have been constructed from paper mache.
That's a choice, and that was my choice before Brunt. And now, Brian is for Brunt, and you can be too.
It's like suddenly a Catholic schoolgirl became a porn star.
It's nothing like that whatsoever.
Went from paper mache to the most secure, sturdy boots on the planet. And also, if aliens try to take you in their tractor beam so that you could be anally probed, these things will keep you on the ground. They have a special. They have a special.
Don't start adding features that they don't have now. We're so late in the spot. Now's not the time to start adding things that they have.
Well, would you like to know how to save some money?
Yes.
I can.
Yes. Yes. Save me money, Jim. That's what the audience is yelling.
Well, our listeners are going to get $10 off their entire order, no matter how much they order. It's going to be $10 off of it. With the code JCE at checkout when you go to bruntworkwear.com. That's Brunt, B-R-U-N-T. God, it sounds so nasty. That's another thing for those kinky people that like to take those candid photographies of them doing things while they're wearing the Brunt boots. That's entirely encouraged by this office, but just send the photos here. Brunt Workwear. bruntworkwear.com and use the code JCE. You're going to get $10 off your entire order. Order today and let them know that you heard it right here in one of their former shows that they used to work with.
No. We don't say that. They are very nice people.
No, they're very nice people. They're not really a bunch of brunts like they're painted out to be.
We use these are fine boots and fine people. We really like these boots here, and I know you do there because you talked about it.
You'll never give these boots the boot.
Once again, Jim, a great deal for the listeners. One last time without any extra provocation. That promo code.
That's JCE at bruntworkwear.com. $10 off. Give your feet a treat and then take a seat and eat some meat.
That's right. They support us. They put up with us. Support them. Brunt. Jim, this is your show.
Yes. Oh, well, where were you going? I'll follow you for a minute if you'd like me to.
It's time for the no, I don't know. It's your show, actually. I'm not. You're not putting the pressure on me. That takes all the pressure off you.
You just sounded so authoritative, like well, Jim, it's time now for us to do this important thing. So, you want to talk about some of the TV wrestling? I guess we ought to start doing that at some point.
Oh boy,
holy free holy. Well, also, I don't even have, you might have some of the information in front of you. I didn't care enough to quote chapter and verse, but the last time that I saw the ratings for AEW's flagship program on Wednesday night's Dynamite, they were at 496,000. Was this the first Wednesday of December? Now that they trickle out instead of exploding and erupting all over the audience, and they still ain't very good.
By the way, I do love the fact still that some executive found out that these numbers were getting out to wrestling fans and flipped out. And that has changed everything for everyone when it comes to the gathering and the compiling of these numbers. That's one of the more exquisite things about this whole deal. Some executives, like, the wrestling fans are saying, what? They're giving out quarter hours? We need to stop this. But yeah, the rate I think was 496 from what I've scene. Collision has completely cratered. Even when there's not big WWE competition, the number, especially in the key demo, is it gets lower and lower, it seems like. In the 200s, obviously.
They did a show here, one of the Collision programs, that was, well, it was the low two teens, but I recall when I saw it thinking, OVW had moments where it drew a tenth of the Collision audience in one market on the number 5 station. Anywho, let's go to Winter is Coming. Where is Winter? Where's my winter pad? There it is. Down at the bottom of all this shit. Winter is coming. Did I say that? They said they were in Atlanta. They're in College Park at a 3,000 seat building, or at least a building that was set up for 3,000.
What is College Park in comparison or in relation to Atlanta?
Well, it's like technically it is Atlanta, except it's an incorporated, city. But every suburb of Atlanta apparently now has a goddamn arena. That's what I'm saying. Imagine I'm trying to figure out where you, with your northeastern viewpoint, what's that goddamn town that's right next to Boston that is actually in Boston, but it's a separate thing from Boston? It's sure. The same goddamn town. It's a neighborhood. They've got 3,000 seat arenas now in neighborhoods in Atlanta, is what I'm saying to you. But it's like, the arena in College Park 20 years ago, that would have been the high school gym. I mean, where are all these fucking arenas coming from? Anyhow, where are all these television programs coming from? As I mentioned, it's going to be a long, hard, cold winter. And now that Tony is stuck, and I don't know what's going to happen where he can just break out of this, because they're milking this Continental Classic tournament to the pay-per-view at the end of the year. And Uncle Dave just loves Tony's tournaments. So Tony's more sure than ever he needs to do more tournaments. And the same people in multiple combinations are fighting the same people and doing the same things every fucking week again. And there's news that MJF may be coming back. And God bless him. Unless he brings fucking Buddy Rogers' reanimated corpse with him, I don't know what fuck good he can do. So should we just start at the top and work our way through this?
On that pleasant note, why don't we talk about AEW Dynamite? Winter is not coming. Winter is here. Winter has arrived, and winter is here.
Yes, and he's running for sheriff. No, the opening match was the Women's World Tag Team Championship Tournament Final, where the Babes of Wrath faced the Timeless Love Bombs. And God damn it. The Babes of Wrath are Willow Nightingale and I'm sorry. I'll just go ahead and
it's
clear that.
It's Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, not that.
Harley Cameron. Well, I've had too much carbonation. And the Timeless Love Bombs are Tony Storm and Mina Mellons. And while Storm and Mellons are a little bit more elaborate with it, each team has their own dancing choreography that they can come out to. Have you noticed I'm just sounding just more and more weary of the world, and they've got their choreography. What the fuck? Here's the thing. they had something originally with Tony Storm that was organic and happened, and it was even there was something to it at first when it was different and she was doing a good job of it. And even though at first it was kind of different, but then even when we didn't like it, we had to admit she was doing a wonderful job at the promos and etc. But then they ruined it. I mean, even Luther worked because with that gimmick, she needed a fat, bald, ugly guy butler, and Jackie Coogan was booked. But then they started playing to it, and everybody acted like she wasn't crazy. And then it became reverse fucking Green Acres philosophy or whatever, where no, if everybody's acting like the crazy person ain't crazy, it doesn't work. And it got way past ridiculous. And then now we're reduced to teaming her with this awkward, tit-shaking, clumsy goof with a stupid team name. What are timeless love bombs, Brian? Is that the shit that you drop in your bath that smells good and keeps you from having the heartbreak of psoriasis?
I don't know if it's the same thing. It's their cute name because she's timeless Tony Storm, and is Mina Shirakawa called the Love Bomb?
And Mina's a bomb.
I don't know if her nickname's the Love Bomb, and I've missed that all along, but
well, they're having love together because also they're lesbians or thespians or whatever they're being presented to be, for the element of the AEW audience, I guess, that both doesn't get laid and hasn't figured out that there's free internet porn, so you don't need to use the wrestling anymore. So anyway, and Willow had potential, but now she's Bud Abbott with this fucking ventriloquist partner of hers who is also a stand-up comic. And there's Willow just standing, oh, yes, and Harley's so funny about all these things. God,
I do feel like there has to be an agent or someone out there that could save Harley Cameron. She really is a talented woman. Get her away from wrestling at AEW and send her to Vegas or Reno.
She needs the energy level is a bit high all the time. She makes Jerry Lewis look like Stephen Wright. I'm just saying. So this match started, and the first 2 minutes of it looked like drunk strippers with cheerleading backgrounds trying to make a TikTok video. And then they started trading fake forearms, so I skipped ahead. And by the way, this one also I did see in trying to find it. Was that the finish? And I mean, oh shit. Aubrey Ed, as much as we kid her and make fun of her long face and
well, you do, yeah,
her equine demeanor, she's worse than I fucking thought. She is just the shits. She's unnecessary. There's no reason to have her in the ring. There's constant four ways. There's constant heels double teaming the babyface for minutes without tags. They just do what they want. She stands there, adopts the statue positions and makes faces. And Jesus Christ. So anyway, this thing went about 15 minutes and they beat Mina, and then I say the baby faces, they're all baby faces. Willow and Harley cried and thanked each other. And I actually think that they were legitimately touched that they come this far to win this fake fucking belt on Tony's fake fucking show. And they were in tears about it. And then the other baby faces, the one star that they had in the women's division, Tony Storm, is now reduced to one half of the team that shakes hands with the winners and walks the fuck out. Do you know what I wrote in summation of this match, Brian? Can I read it to you verbatim?
I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know what you wrote, but
I wish Joe LeDuc would come out with his lumberjack axe and chop this whole soft, silly, stupid roster into teeny-weeny pieces.
There it is. So, did you like the match? Everyone was really into their performance. Again, some parts may not have looked the best. Harley Cameron got busted up. And women's tag team champions, the Timeless... Oh, no, they're not the Timeless. They are the Babes of Wrath.
Yes, because now they're the Time's Up ratings bombs. Well, we won't know. We don't get the quarters. All right.
And doesn't Tony take advantage of that? Have you noticed that since we stopped getting the quarter hours, he puts more, oh my God, I can't believe this is on now. It's going to chase away people's shit all throughout the show. He's moved it up. It
still counts against the average, does it not? We're getting an overall number, and the quicker you run people off, it would seem to be counterintuitive to that fucking concept. Well, I'm not a math expert, Brian. I'm just a small town bird lawyer trying to do the best I can in this wacky, crazy world after leaving that no good son of a bitch because he was messing around with his secretary. And now I'm in the big city and that's Mary Tyler Moore.
But you're going to make it.
After all. Brian, are you ready to get into the first match of the program involving the Continental Classic Tournament?
The Continental Classic, an AEW tradition. It's been going on now for a few years, and Tony really, really loves it.
Yes, and I love to put the accent on the first syllable of that word where it belongs, but
must see.
So now Darby is still hospitalized or is not cleared yet, or apparently he landed on his head. Imagine that. Who could have thought that was possibly in the cards? In the match with Kevin Knight, which they acknowledged. So John Moxley tried and couldn't do it. MJF tried and couldn't do it. Every fucking big heel, Chris Jericho, tried and couldn't do it. Kevin Knight hospitalized Darby Allin quicker than all those big stars. But he's just out of the thing now, and Jungle Jackoff has taken his place. So again, whatever they were going to do, like with Darby, they're doing now with Jungle Jack. And he wrestled our friend, Mr. O'Boring. I got to give Perry a 1 point for effort. He opened up hot, getting all over Okada, and Okada just leaned back in the turnbuckles and barely reacted. And at one point, Perry gets him in the corner to do the 10 punches, and he boom, 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 and no part, as he was striking the man in the forehead with his fist, no part of Okada's body moved a muscle. His arm was even kind of extended out in front of him. It wasn't even shaking. It's uncanny that this guy can actually have a pulse. If he doesn't, so he won with a clothesline, 1, 2, 3, in about 15 minutes. So again, this round robin tournament, they're trying to push Perry, but they beat Perry. They beat Perry with this fucking idiot. They ain't gonna draw any money with a rematch, I'll tell you that.
Were they gonna beat Darby here?
I guess they were.
Right?
Because Tony won't beat this fucking guy. It's insane. It's like some kind of, what do they call that, disinformation program, and one of the communist mind melding fucking programs of the 60s with the KGB or whatever, where they just tell you over and over, Okada's great, Okada's great, Okada's the greatest, this and that and the other thing. And they talk about him like he's a legend. And it looks like it exerts him to blink. and he puts no effort in anything, and it's drawn out, and then he beats him. And he's contributed nothing except saying bitch and flipping the finger on TV. And you could have fucking got guys to do that here in this country a lot cheaper and saved fucking plane tickets. So then, this is what I want you to explain to me, bro. The match, caca, who cares? So then Don Fallis gets in the ring with the bag of money, the $1 million. I wish they'd at least go to the concession stand like Lawler did and get $236 in ones and crumple it up so we see something that looks like something. But he's got the bag of alleged money, and here comes Josh Alexander and Rocky Romero and Chia and the other masked guy who I forget who the fuck it may be, and Fat Ass Davis and Take a Shit. And they all get in the ring, and now their deal is Don's pitching to Jungle Jack about joining the family in the insincere bullying way that he does. Like, if you know what's good for you, you'll do this. What is the purpose for him just to ask somebody every week to be in this thing? And he's got 13 guys already. And when he gets blown off, they just fucking steal the money back and do whatever. And isn't this been going on for weeks with no, it ain't getting any better, is it? More often they do it with practice.
And again, he did it with Jack Perry, who just lost the match. He's a smaller guy. I mean, I know he now carries a knife to the ring to stop that CM Punk.
He needs to start using it. Yeah. Punk may be hiding it. When he goes to Chicago, he's going to have a bulletproof vest on.
But it came out of nowhere in that sense. The idea that he's pitching Jack Perry. He was on commentary a few minutes before, Don Callis. Now he's pitching Jack Perry to join his group of just like, it's like a makeshift ramsack, just people all over the place, people you've never seen before, people who never have matches. Where was Lance Archer? He's another guy who's like in the group somewhere. Like, it's just people all over the place. And, yeah, it was just awkwardly done. I don't think anyone expected it. But also, who was it? They just tried to bully, who was it? To bully, the Bucks into. Oh yeah. You'd think he'd at least change his pitch if that one ain't working, because it's so tongue in cheek. Nobody's meant to actually believe it. They're making fun of what they're doing as they're doing it. So anyway, this went on too long, and it was insincere, whatever. And then old Jungle Jack, because he's a tough guy now, he says, "Well, this is the second time tonight I'm going to bite off more than I can chew," and just jumps him and starts fighting him, and it's kind of sloppy. Yeah, all right. Yeah, right. And yeah. And they play the music, and here comes Dino out to ringside. But he sees all of this, so they just stare at each other because there's 6 of them in the ring. But as they're staring, here comes the Hardley Boys from the back, or from behind. Possibly they recently left and pulled out of the behind. Possibly they disseminated from the behind, as you originally put it. And they've got chairs, and as all the heels turn around, they gut shot the heels with the It's so awkward too. Why would you gut shot somebody with a chair to begin with? And they have to walk into them one at a time, hit the motherfucker over the head with the chair, or come up with another gimmick. And again, if these morons have banned a professional wrestler giving another guy a shot with a chair, if they all know what they're doing, and still do these goddamn dives that results in people being put into traction and plaster casts on a weekly basis, then I can't help them to begin with. But nevertheless, they hit the heels with the chairs. Dino chokeslammed 2 of the Mexican guys, but one of them never got off the ground. And they knee lifted Okada, and he's just laying there because he couldn't be bothered to roll out. And finally, this is the explanation I want.
Something of this whole segment, but specifically these actions. There's 4 baby faces in the ring now, Brian, and they've just beat up a few of the heels. Some of the heels didn't bother to get in and take a bump out. And now Don carrying the bag of $1 million with none of his guys in the ring. They've just got their asses kicked. His 4 enemies are all in there. Why did he slide into the ring?
I can't explain that at all.
He slid into the ring, stood up, and purposely backed up into Dino, and then did the take where he and turned and saw him and got frozen fake scared, whereas and nothing moves. And then he handed the Buckaroos the bag and backed up to Jungle Jack after seeing where Jungle Jack was so that they could go to super kick fucking Don, but Take a Shit could come in and shove Don out of the way and they could super kick a couple of the other heels, the end. Unless they had already fucked up and Don left the building too soon, left the ring too soon, or somebody else didn't do what they were supposed to do. And he's like, oh, golly, my spot where I get to act fake scared. And he just got in the ring and did it anyway. I don't know what the fuck this was, but it offended me as a professional wrestling manager.
Remember last week there was an awkward moment where, was it after a Kyle Fletcher match? Him and Fletcher were in the ring and like handing the microphone back and forth to each other. Then he went to a commercial.
Yeah, because Kyle was like, fuck, it just worked. What the fuck you want me to say? God damn, let me breathe. Anyway, that was what happened there when they did that. Your thoughts?
Well, you summed it up so well.
Well,
the match was what it was. This isn't even the biggest problem in terms of like a bigger guy, because Okada is a bigger guy, having a competitive match with someone who is slight. Jack Perry is a very, very small guy. I mean, you know, whatever. But that's what wrestling's about nowadays. It's just about 2 people, no matter who you are. Like the whole thing that people said for years, Ric Flair could have a good match with a broom. Now it would be booked. And then people would talk about the broom like, you guys don't see how great the broom is? I mean, there's a problem with the way things are done now, and the match was what it was. The post-match was terrible. The Bucks, if you watched the reaction, I don't know if it was purely because of the disappointment that they didn't do any chair shots. They ran, again, when you said they were jabbing people in the midsection with the chair, like you do that once, and then it was like they would run to another person to do the same thing. It's an awkward... There was no big bumps. There was no excitement in the impact of them arriving on the scene and guys getting a chance to fly for them or whatever. It's just this boom, 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 and on the back, boom, and whatever the fuck. And just the whole idea behind this thing, the Callis family sucks. Callis is a joke manager. Again, all these things are like, hey, let's do a professional wrestling kind of thing, but it's not exactly, like, it doesn't feel on the level. And then Jack Perry's whole, like, this wouldn't be the first time this week I did something crazy. You know, like who the fuck buys that? Even if you think the Bucks are going to be the ones to save you with their chairs, taking down a group of like 25 people. This whole thing was ridiculous. I'm used to fighting large groups of people. He sounds like Wally Cox. Just if you listen to the voice, just there's no power in Jack Perry's voice. So everything he says just sounds, you know, multi, just it doesn't sound right.
But I got to be honest with you, Brian, because we're going to come up on a better, exponentially better example of what you were talking about with a big guy going a long time with a little teeny guy here shortly. Jack Perry, to me, looks like goddamn Johnny Weissmuller next to that goddamn Hong Kong Phooey. We're going to get to him. The existence of him repulses me. Is the best way that I can. We'll in a few minutes we'll get there. But at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, We're almost there. It was about a couple minutes beforehand. Tony Schiavone's in the ring with Mark, and he brings out Mark Briscoe. And Mark does the promo that people like because he sounds in his odd, awkward, unique way. He's a likable sounding guy. And he did the promo about people saying he couldn't win the big one, but he won the TNT title. And again, I'm behind that. It's better use of him than they've done in 5 years. And he did the promo that gets him over with the people because it's endearing to them, etc. And then it's interrupted after like a minute. And herein lies the continued problem. They finally put Mark Briscoe in a prominent place, put a championship on him, gave him a big win over a guy that they're pushing. And then they shoot themselves in the foot because it's the blind squirrel finding a nut principle where they've accidentally made a good talent choice in Mark Briscoe. They don't have a concerted plan because the people that interrupt him are Wheeler Useless and Danny Garcia. And now we're back in fucking niche, hardcore, indie land, outlaw mud show territory, where only a small group of people who appeal to Uncle Dave and Cousin Tony, the new hillbilly team, the scuffling hillbillies from Jacksonville and Campbell by the Sea, that's who's going to be interested in these people and in this. And then you bring Mark Briscoe down because in what in most people's eyes now is big league wrestling, you see big stars like CM Punk and Cody Rhodes interacting with Paul Heyman and this fucking Braun Breaker and Drew McIntyre. And over here you see Mark Briscoe, endearing gimmick babyface, interacting with two buggy whip arm fucking indie guys that are just, no, it ain't gonna fucking happen. I'm sure they're nice fellows. And this is, the modern version of the Click where Michaels and fucking Helmsley think that, all of their guys get to push, but no. And they let Wheeler talk, and he sounds like, goddamn Peter Noon. And the fans say, fuck you, Yuta, because they don't want to hear this. He's a downturn in your emotions when he interrupts shit. And Garcia tried to promo, and Briscoe got him back into it a little bit, challenging him for a fight, and then slugged Garcia once, and then Yuta and Marina Schaefer held him back, and they promoted the show. Their match is going to be on Collision at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon. So they did this whole thing to give the people a flat ending to promote Mark Briscoe against a job guy on a TV show that's going to air on Saturday afternoon at 4:30 that nobody's going to watch.
The day of John Cena's retirement.
The day of John Cena's retirement. When they're all getting out their black mourning clothes.
There's an issue with the idea that they've been building to stuff on Collision for a while, and it seemingly has not done anything to help Collision, which has free-falled into ratings nowhere. But it would at least be helpful if it was credible wrestlers. Yuta's one thing. Yuta ain't bad as the hairy little freak brother flunky for the Moxley group. People like saying, fuck you, Yuta. They like yelling and booing at him. He kind of sucks on the mic, but it's in that like Weasley kind of way.
He can be Renfield.
Garcia can't. Garcia sucks on the mic. Every time he gets on the mic, it somehow gets worse, and you don't believe him. And then what was this? Took one punch, and then like all of a sudden, The big bad Death Rider guy was like all freaked out. The build to a match no one's going to watch.
Well, and then what was keeping Mark Briscoe from just going over there and beating up both of them? That's the thing.
But then nothing happened. It just ended.
And then nothing happens because they can't fight anymore until Saturday at 4:30 because that would be against the rules. Well, I don't know what. So then they cut to the backstage and there was 6 girls fighting and hitting each other with chairs. I don't know. Don't have any idea. Didn't stop to fucking question it. Because the next match was a tornado tag team match. Brian, you know what that means, don't you? No tags, no rules, anything goes, no disqualification, lazy booking. As opposed to the tag team match with the girls they had earlier, where the girls just didn't really tag either anyway, except whenever they felt like it, and it was fine. But in this case, they're going to have an added component because before that all 4 of them start the match where all 4 guys are in the ring at the same time and anything goes, they start fighting each other in the arena and they go out to the fucking concourse. Powerhouse Hobbs and his friend and partner Shapoopy against Swerve and Hangnail Page. Because now they have reunited Swerve and Hangnail. You may recall, didn't Hangnail drank Swerve's blood after Swerve burnt? No, Hangnail burnt Swerve's house down, and then Swerve drank Hangnail's blood.
No.
And then somebody got set on fire.
Adam Page drank Swerve's blood. That was before the arson. And
God damn, he both drank his blood and burned his house down?
Yeah. But now they're friends. So it shows that love can overcome all.
But they're not really friends, but they have a common enemy, which is the fucking... I don't know.
Which is Shibata. Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, Shibata. So the Swerve and Page enter through the arena, but the heels send all of their dojo jobbers that they've just had for 3 weeks. They didn't have anybody. And then suddenly 12 guys keep showing up in these t-shirts the last 3 weeks. And they went up to fight Swerve and Hangnail, and it was bad fake fighting because they're on the concrete arena stairs, and Page and Swerve supposedly have these 10-foot chains, and Swerve has a staple gun. And so they're supposedly being attacked by these martial arts dojo members in these matching t-shirts, and he's combating the fucking Shotokan tricks that, they're learning in the dojo with a goddamn staple gun. And then they go out into the concourse and they've got a split screen going, and part of it is dark and the cameras can't follow the shit. I don't know if they walk through this or if they just block an area off and then just say, yeah, we're going to go that way. Do they check the lighting? Do they block the cameras? Do they have a walkthrough with not only security, but the goddamn director who's doing the live switching in the truck, whatever. So they broke a table and they fought in the fake concession stand area, and they had a bunch of people in the breezeway that security had backed up so that they could prepare this fake fighting area. And they're all screaming and everything. And when they go to the break, and well, it's a good time to try to restore order. And when they came back, they had actually restored order. They were all in the ring. There was barely anything happening. They started with a goddamn, carpet bombing attack and ended up with fucking, the guys are here to spray for the mosquitoes. So they went about another 7 minutes or so, and then at that point, Swerve and Page stared at each other. Like they were mad and had hate in their eyes, but nothing at that point had happened. They had been fighting together and working together And the announcers had just mentioned, well, they seem to be working together. And then they just started staring at each other like, I hate you, motherfucker. I want you to die. And then they turned around and started fucking toward Hobbs and grabbed him and power bombed him through a table on the floor and then beat Shapoopy. And so now they've beat Samoa Joe's guys, but does that mean that with Tony's, I won't say pattern booking, I'll say cookie cutter booking, now are we going to have to suffer Joe versus Paige versus Swerve at the pay-per-view because that's 2 weeks out from their pay-per-view and they haven't announced dick except the finals of a tournament that nobody gives a shit about to begin with. Your thoughts, Brian, on any of these things?
Well, I don't know how much I could add to that stellar review. The staple gun was ridiculous. It looked ridiculous. He never hit anyone with it. He instead would staple them and then they would oversell the stapling. Again, Shibata doesn't seem like even a mid-card guy to me. He's just a guy there. Hobbs has been pushed badly since the beginning. Yeah, I guess
a perennially bad push.
That's right. And eventually, I guess they'll do something with Paige and Swerve. We'll see. But I don't know. I'm not really into the top of the card right now, what's happening. So something's got to change or break soon. We'll see. We didn't mention earlier, and I apologize. I guess I forgot to mention it because I thought you would have. And when you didn't, I forgot to.
Well,
Jack Perry biting Okada's penis.
Oh, good Lord.
In the middle of that match. I forgot all about it. Did you see the clip? Did you fast forward through it? What happened?
Yeah, well, no, I'd fast forward through it, but I saw some people put it up on Twitter and I had forgotten to mention that also. But yes, as dipshit picked him up for a tombstone, picked up Perry for the tombstone pile driver, Perry bites his dick and then he decides to make a fucking face. And lets him go. And so the escape for the tombstone is the dick bite.
What is it as crazy as it seems to me? The idea that on TBS you have a guy bite another guy's dick on the wrestling show to get out of a move, and that's the first thing the guy sells?
I don't. How is that worse than the girls slicing each other up with razor blades or, playing sticky finger with each other? I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there with all the lesbianation. But I mean, somebody ain't going to like something sooner or later. They're trying to offend everybody. Us seasoned professionals with no morals about the sex and then the puritanical sponsors with the morals, but they don't care how sloppy the work is. Sooner or later, they're going to offend everybody. And speaking of offending people, the Continental Tournament was continuing. And Brian, I swear to God, before that I knew what you told me right before we went on the air, I actually wrote, this is the kind of fucking match that Uncle Dave will think is great. It did nothing but damage to the overall program, talent involved picture of the industry, whatever. And Uncle Dave will think it's wonderful. And son of a bitch, wouldn't you know who won the pony? He's calling it, what's he called? The greatest match since Adam and Eve? Is that, I mean, how did it 5.5 or 5.25 stars and the best match on AEW ever and all this other horse hockey?
I'm right now pulling it up. The new Wrestling Observer newsletter from the match review. Mike Bailey, I'll give the result because we haven't given that either. Mike Bailey pinned Kyle Fletcher in the Gold League, 19 minutes, 9 seconds. This was not just the match of the tournament, but either this match, the men's blood and guts match, or Will Ospreay versus Takeshita was the best Dynamite match this year. He runs down. Bailey had this red bruise down his spine. That was just a bad idea for this move. These two are the stars of the tournament so far, but this would have been a match of the year candidate if they had ditched that spot and done other dangerous spots. That's where Bailey took that bump. He was dropped onto the barricade back first. The match, the rating, 5.25 stars. What did you think of it?
Well, here again, this is the problem with these round robin tournaments. The Japanese scene in the glory years was a whole nother culture and a whole nother style of presentation. And they had a ton of top talent, and they also were the only games in town. There was 2 promotions, and they were both successful. These people who live in this fantasy world about they were the small club of Americans who actually knew what this cool stuff was going on in Japan, and now they get to cosplay it before our very eyes. The problem with a round robin tournament is if you have main event and preliminary guys in the tournament, is you get matches like this. Kyle versus Fooey. And Kyle Fletcher, as we've said over and over, all the physical tools and all the potential and the determination, he works his ass off. He's not going to get an education here in what he ought to do or how to put matches together, whatever, because everybody's left to their own devices, and they emulate these fucking indie goddamn douchebags that they idolize for getting them this job for this millionaire. But as far as approaching this like a business, they're lost balls in high weeds. And when he's booked in a situation like this, as to work hard, Kyle thinks, and I'm sure they're told, you guys will have a great match. So you've got Kyle, whose worst instinct is he tries to fucking work like a video game character, and none of his shit ever beats anybody until it's time for them to get beat. But then you've got Bailey is the most visually offensive, indie level, small market, niche, rec center, wannabe kung fu movie fuck. He thinks he's in a goddamn karate video game, and he looks like Ricky Steamboat's daughter. He thinks in his head that he's this goddamn next thing since Bruce Lee, and normal people are looking at this stuff that he's doing is fake. He's a little nerd. If he opens his mouth, you think, my God, is that my little sister speaking to me? He has a doltish demeanor, and I wouldn't even use him as an underneath guy, but there ain't a goddamn chance on God's green earth that he will ever be in a money-drawing position anywhere in the world of professional wrestling. Well, Tony will put him in one, but he won't succeed at it, nor will there ever be any goddamn Hall of Fame discussion about Spitball Mike Bailey. He makes Perry look masculine. But this is the problem, is that now you've got this guy that is a huge, great looking kid that does all this shit, instead of producing him and trying to teach him and the psychology of how to put the match together and blah, 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 and don't hurt yourself. You put him with this goddamn comedy figure that's a foot shorter and 100 pounds lighter and just feckless is the best word I can think of to describe Bailey. And they do 20 minutes of dangerous, sloppy shit where they imitate the video game moves. And Kyle is hitting big stuff and Spitball's just kicking out of it. Because then all the people will go, oh! So none of his shit works against the smallest, most inoffensive, unintimidating fuck on the roster. He's as physically intimidating as a used condom. And Kyle's out there bumping for him. And then finally, I'm thinking, and I wrote this, I said, it hurts Kyle to have to go 15. I didn't know they were going to go 20, 15 minutes with this idiot, even when he beats him. And then he didn't beat him. he Bailey kicked out of Kyle's brainbuster, and then they just got up and went back and forth like nothing had happened to him. And then Bailey beat him with a sunset flip. What's the matter with these people? Again, you're trying to build Kyle as a top guy, and physically he's impressive, and he's got starting to get the win record. You would believe it. And then this fucking unrepentant jobber beats him flat in the middle legal. So it didn't help Kyle. You can't help Bailey because he's beyond help. He will never be anything. He should quit now, hang his head in shame at what he's done so far, and try not to show his face in public because it's an unappealing fucking face. So you hurt Kyle, you can't help Bailey. And what does it do for the company when you've just gone backwards on everything you've tried to do to put Kyle over as a top guy by having this fucking literal shrimp beat him in the middle of the ring? And after absorbing everything Kyle had, he couldn't beat him. That shit just ain't gonna work on Bailey. Well, and it ain't gonna work on anybody else either. It wouldn't work on your 12-year-old sister if it won't work on fucking Bailey. I've got a cramp in my side. Brian, can you take over for a minute?
Again, at one of these times, I don't know how much I can add, but I did think it was a bit ridiculous. And again, I know it's AEW, and I know they're pushing Mike Bailey or whatever they're doing. And their fans, a large amount of them, it seems like, do like him. But Kyle Fletcher looks like a WWE superstar in waiting. And Mike Bailey looks like he should be working for Vern Langdon at Slammers. And it looks ridiculous. Everyone wants to be Flair Steamboat. Everyone wants to be Savage Steamboat. And those were matches where there were near falls.
Whoever wanted to be Steamboat's daughter before, though?
I've never heard that one before, but I guess that's the thing. Everyone kicks out of everything. It doesn't matter how big you are. Jack Perry was kicking out of stuff with Okada. It doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. They are catering to a fan base and a person, specifically in Tony, that just want matches that go long. Everyone does everything. Everyone kicks out of everything. They don't see the long-term damage that does and how that's not helpful. And this match, I thought, was a good case of that. The fans there, a lot of them really got into it. But who are you pushing? Unless you think Kyle's leaving, why would he ever be losing to Mike Bailey?
And then why would they waste a job if he was leaving on fucking Bailey?
But it's also the Continental Classic where, everyone has to lose eventually. Except one person.
Well, they should have made new rules then. Or don't have the fucking match. Don't put this goddamn offensive, giant-toothed, grinning geek with his little fucking Jackie Chan routine in with the big boys if he's got to win some of it. Because you're just doing damage, and it's so phony. The level... Again, Uncle Dave thinks, it's 5.5 stars because they did, I guess, a checklist of moves and didn't paralyze each other. So that's all he cares about. He doesn't look at the sloppiness and the level of obvious cooperation that's visible that takes you out of the moment, and the fact that especially Bailey, Kyle's shit looks good in a lot of cases. Bailey's shit looks completely phony and see-through because he's a child playing at this rather than a grown adult man doing it. And they don't care. Again, that was rule number one and job number one. At one point, if you got into business, make shit look good. You would be fired for doing phony-looking shit. Now everybody just looks past it. It's like you go to a movie and the editor was so sloppy he left in the fucking, then when they all dropped their take and went over to sit down and grab their Coke and everything. Well, but they're still doing good stuff in the scenes. You can see it. It's sloppy. It's not professional. If you can't do basic shit and make it look halfway legitimate, don't just go out there and think that you're goddamn doing the fucking Golden Harvest fucking film remake of Fists of Fury. Fuck's sake, this idiot. Anyhow, Brian, the main event was for the world title with Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston, and they started at 5 minutes till 10, and I had neglected to record the overrun, and after seeing Felcher and Spitball, I truthfully didn't give a shit. But I know that Joe is still the champion. And poor Eddie Kingston ain't lost a goddamn... He did physical therapy for a fucking year, ain't lost a goddamn pound.
I thought he looked better. Actually, I thought he slimmed down a little bit.
Well, maybe he was just fatter than I remember when he left.
You said you didn't watch the match. How can you comment about his weight?
I saw him get in the ring. It was 5 minutes till 10 when they started this thing, and I had not remembered to record the overrun. So that's why I'll frustrate myself. If I get involved in this match, I won't know who won.
I saw he did an interview this week where he announced he has 6 more. According to him, he has 6 more years left on his AEW contract.
What? Who?
Eddie Kingston.
6 years? What did he goddamn sign? Mark Henry's rookie contract? 10 years? What the fuck did he sign?
Oh yeah, here it is. Actually, the Observer has the quote that I saw. Eddie Kingston, 43, has 6 years left on his contract and gave the indication on the Gabby AF show that he's looking to leave and go into hibernation at that point. And the quote is, I have 6 years left on my contract. I want to make my money and then buy a place in Alaska and get the fuck away from society. Get me the fuck to Alaska as long as I can watch the Yankees, Giants, Knicks, and Rangers, all that stuff with the streaming. I'm good. Leave me alone.
Well, wait, why the fuck would he go to Alaska instead of Hawaii? If he's milking Tony for fucking 6 more years, he would have signed a 7 or 8 year contract when he was in his early 40s, Eddie Kingston, with his history of fucking injury and physical conditioning. If he's going to make that much money, go to fucking Hawaii instead of Alaska, Eddie. I appreciate your sentiment. Get the fuck away from me and leave society alone. Yes, I'm all in support of that, but don't go to Alaska. It's cold. Go to Hawaii. There's no bad food in Hawaii.
Great seafood.
And there's no friendly mooses in fucking Alaska.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite. Samoa Joe wins, defeats Eddie Kingston after this 1 week program where they got some interview time, and that's Dynamite.
It certainly was. Where are we at here? Do we have other business, or is it getting close to the holidays?
I think it's close to the holidays. We'll have plenty of business. We have lots of listener questions and so much more for the drive-thru. Lots more history stuff coming up during the holiday season. We should say it now. Omnibus season on the way. So during the holidays, you're going to be loaded with great Jim Cornette content.
Hoo-hoo, magic bus. Ooh, magic bus. We're going to put you on the bus, baby. On the bus with us. We're going to talk about, see, now I'm doing Mark Briscoe. On the bus with us. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. It's going to be that kind of season and that kind of year. And we're going to be back with the report on John Cena's final season. Final match on the drive-thru. That's your program. And then we'll be back next week, I believe, on the experience. And then other things are going to happen over the holidays because it is the time of the season. Doom, doom, doom. Doom, doom, doom. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me?
That is not the way that Colin Blumstone from the zombie sounded. I don't know what that was.
You stay away from his Blumstone. That'll get you 5 to 7 years in the fucking county workhouse if you touch his Blumstone. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us today on The Experience, and we'll be back on the drive-through with, as I said, Cena's last match and all kind of good things coming up through the end of the year. Stick with us. You ain't seen nothing yet. Thank you. Fuck you. And bye-bye, everybody.